Can you make solid gym progress training just 2 times a week? Well, I've spent the last 6 months trying this out to see if I could make new progress. So I initially started this around June last year after I'd had a couple of sort of injuries that kept me out the gym for a while. And I just wanted to see how much I could get away with training and getting back into the gym and making progress. And I started this off doing two full bodies. So one day was sort of more upper body, one day was more lower, but you'd also incorporate more of, some days would have some quad in, some days would have a bit more hamstring, and then on vice versa. Now, I actually started this with the intention of coming off it. I'd never really felt, apart from the injuries, I'd never felt so good around the gym, as in on the nights, the next day, having the extra time. And the big reason that I realized was for, I'd say, 7, 8, 9 years, I was just overtraining. Now, I know people like to say, oh, you're not overtraining, you're just under recovered. But as a human being, there is only so much recovery you can actually do. So, you know, it it must be overtraining to some extent. Now, you could start living like a monk, going all the Brian Johnson, getting a hyperbaric chamber. This is more so for the people who actually have a normal life. Now, the reason that this worked so well, for the first reason was it let you recover a lot more than you're actually working. So even though you were only training maybe 2 hours a day, I would class that full day, especially afterwards, as like a training day, and you would sort of design everything around that day for the training. So all your nutrition, what time you're going to, you know, do things like your cardio. You might skip it in the morning, and then the next day to recover is what I would call like a full day of rest. I had to think about this. Would I train this long term? So I've actually come from 2 times a week to now training 3 times a week, and the reason is, for the most part, is leg work. There's a big difference between actual leg progress and going in and just doing a bit and saying, oh yeah, I train legs. Now, if I look back to when my legs have grown the most, it has been from not necessarily higher volume, but definitely from focused leg days where I'm so in tune with the training. So I've always had this saying of, when you're dialed in with your training when you're hitting PRs on your leg days, right? Once you've hit some PRs in the past on your leg days when you were dialed in, it's so easy, right, to get to a point where that looks like a million miles away. And to actually build back up to that, you need them weeks and months where you're so not necessarily meticulous every single day, but you're not skipping sessions, your diet around it is right, you're not drinking as much. The legs just need volume different than the other body parts. And if it wasn't for this reason, I think you could actually get away with training just twice a week. And I'm literally proof that you can do it. Now, would I be able to do that if I was trying to push legs at the same time? Absolutely not. The sheer amount of effort, not even just in sets, because the legs are a big muscle group, right? And even just the quad, you could separate that into three different muscle groups. You've got hip hinges, you've got like knee extensions, you've got the squat, you've got so much to do in a leg day, and they are all important. I've tried to take things out before in the leg day, and it doesn't sort of tick all the boxes without. Now, someone could say I train twice a week because I just do an RDL, so that's technically hamstrings and it's glute work. But I can guarantee that without having seated ham curl or a glute focused exercise on top of an RDL as well, you're just not going to grow the leg. And don't listen to people who've actually said that they've done this and the legs have grown. Literally, see if they've got side by sides of the leg growing from this 2 days a week, and I bet you will struggle to find it. You could replicate this for upper body, but that's because the upper body just doesn't need the work and doesn't take as much out of you as legs. And for this reason, you just can't expect the legs to grow without giving them the dedication they need. And for that, within this full body split, you basically need a full day which is targeted just at a certain muscle group in the leg, especially the one that you would call like your lagging muscle or one you want to bring up, the best idea for you is to have a quad biased full body day on if it's a squat variation, if you're doing a hack squat or if you're doing a Smith squat, a pendulum, anything like this that's going to grow the legs. You would give that single exercise 30, 40 minutes if needed to work up the weights, give yourself adequate rest in between, and then really put everything into that 1 or 2 sets to grow the muscle. You might then also want to do some hamstring work around that. You've got 2 variables now. You've got that if that was a squat and an RDL, you've now hit pretty much like 2 of the hardest lifts, which is going to take a shitload out of your body. And then also you've got the time, so that might take you up to an hour just for the leg portion. Now, could you technically rush the rest of your full upper body in the rest of that day? Yes, but I just don't see you having sort of the physical output to actually get through it. Instead of looking at how little can we train, it's just finding how much training do I need to do to be able to get 90% plus of the progress, and then how much recovery points can I get in the rest of the week. Now, if you live the life and you don't drink, you don't smoke weed, you don't eat shit foods, I think a big one is, of course, sleep. Many people, including myself, manage to not always get 7 to 8 hours sleep, and also the quality of the sleep, of course, matters. So again, I can make a video on sleep hygiene at some point. But I think the big reason is that the legs just take so much out of you. And that's because, as I said, they're obviously the biggest muscle in your body as a group, the legs. The quads are giant, the glutes are the biggest. I didn't even mention that you maybe want to train your calves at some point. So there is a lot going on with the legs, and it's just, I don't think it's sensible to expect them to grow when you're only training twice a week. Now, again, if you want to just build your upper body and you're not really bothered about your legs, like if you just want them to look nice enough, then you could probably get away with 2 times a week. I see 2 times a week as a viable option short term. So if you've got something like a holiday, or if you're like I was, if you've got some sort of injury that you're working around and you don't need, or if you're not going to be able to maximize that time anyway, you've got work commitments, you've got uni deadlines, anything like this, then yeah, go ahead. I think you can actually make good progress on twice a week in the short term. But as a bigger plan, as a longer term strategy of actually maximizing training, especially if you've got 2-3 years of that grunt work to do to add 10, 15 pounds of good muscle. I just don't see the point in going to 2 times a week and getting subpar results when all you needed was that 1 extra session to make sure you ticked all the boxes. So this is the reason that I really like the full bodies though, is because it forces you to be really serious about your sets and your reps. So every single rep that you've got needs to count, and it needs to be for a reason, and the same as your sets. So if you come into a full body and the first exercise you've got it's a push bias today, so you're doing some sort of press on a bench or on a machine, on a Smith machine, anything like this, you're gonna only have X amount of time to get this done before, because you've got maybe like 6-7 more muscles to work. This is only going to give you 3-4 sets max to actually get the work done, including the warm-ups. So what this is just going to do is get rid of any fucking junk work at all. So all these extra sets, I remember training back squats for so many years, and if I was going to 100 kg or 225, I would go up 10 kilogram at a time and do 10 to 12 reps on every single incremental rise until I got to that 100. I was only 16, 18. I think I did this probably about 20. You can imagine 80 kg for 10 is going to be pretty hard. Then 1 minute after, 2 minutes after, I'm doing 90 kg for 10. That's going to be really hard. And then I finally get to the weight I was actually trying to work, 100 kg. That's going to be fucking horrible because I've just wasted all this energy on what, 7 or 8 fucking sets just to get to the working weight. If you're in a position like me where you could only focus on certain parts, then absolutely you can get away with 2 full bodies and the recovery is unbelievable. You just feel great every day. But the trade-off is the progress isn't, I'd say it's maybe 60% of what you can get with that extra day. So that's why I don't recommend for most people going 2 days a week, but 3 days is definitely something that I'm going to be carrying on for, I'd say, for the most part of this year. See if I want to go back to 4 days. But to be honest, I just don't see me giving up that recovery anymore. And it's a little bit like when you never knew you had something until you've had it. When I went to 2 full days a week to see what the recovery was like and how I should actually be feeling day to day, I never realised just how fucked my body was every single day because I was training 5-6 times a week. Now, I've come down from 5 days to 4 last year. Like I said, I have tried 2. I just think 3 gives you everything you need, and this is what I would recommend for most people. And what I find funny actually is 3 days a week is where you actually start with your training right. So when people get you in the gym, and then people go on bodybuilding.com, YouTube, Instagram, and everyone's like, oh, do this 5-day split. Oh, you need upper lower PPL, active rest, this and all this shit. And then next thing you're doing PPL. Oh, and then can I chuck some CrossFit in there? Oh, what about my HIIT? And brother, just full body, 3 times a week, 1 day with a leg day bias, 1 day with your most important upper body bias, as in your biggest lagging body part, and then the 3rd day is what your main focus is as well. So if you know that you need to bring your legs up this year, then I would do 2 of them full bodies with a bias to legs, and one would be, say, quads, and another could be a hamstring, right? And then you would just have 1 day which is sort of upper body focused with a little bit of legs. If you just literally want to bring everything up, then I would just have 1 leg focused, 1 push focused, 1 pull focused, right? And then you would get an even split across it. But the reason that I don't think you could do this with 2 full bodies is you just need the room for leg work. And as well, it just takes too much out of your body to get through like hard leg sets. You know what a back squat's like, you know what an RDL's like, really pushing it, to then be expected to train the rest of your body on top of that in just 2 full days isn't quite enough for me. But I'm really enjoying it right now as well. There's quite a lot of freedom to know that you only have to train something once. If you're really not feeling strong in the push today, you've only got 1 lot of chest to get through. If you're someone who can't always commit, then this always makes sure that you can at least train every muscle part twice in a week by getting in twice. And then you've got your 3rd session to actually sort of put on the size and the progress. So all in all, I think 3 days is a really nice split. And if you've been on a PPL, if you've been on an upper lower, if you've been on any sort of high frequency training for quite a while, just give the 3 days a week split a try, and it will feel a little bit weird at first. It doesn't, like, at the start it feels a bit wrong, like you should be training like your lats, and then you should be doing a row, and then you should be doing like a close grip row, and then you should be smashing the buys. It will feel a bit weird to not be doing everything, and you might not feel like you've got everything out of it, but that's because you haven't been pushing them actual sets, because you've had to leave stuff in the tank, right? So you've not had the opportunity before to put everything into the lats, like literally fucking everything, because you've got to save some usually for the rest of the back work. Now, if you're training lats tomorrow, you can fucking kill them, and you should do, within 1 or 2 sets, because next thing you're going to be doing a leg press, or you're going to be doing a shoulder press or a lat raise or something. So it really makes you focus on the sets and get everything out of them. So I'm going to probably get to the gym, and actually no, it's a sauna day. So because I'm only training 3 times a week, so I'm going to get the sauna, and that's the only fucking thing I've got to do today. So yeah, give this a try. Hope you enjoy this one, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.